What's going on, guys? Shonen Express here, coming to you with another weekly newsletter. This time it is newsletter number 24, and I've titled it Mission Yozakura Week because that's what this is, guys. The magazine was really, I'll say, unusual this week. We saw some things this week that kind of are out of the ordinary, so it's kind of interesting to talk about in a way, but let's just get into it. So this week the cover went to Mission Yozakura Family. Chapter 100 came out this week. First of all, this was a great cover. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you go on the official Viz website, that banner art that you can see on my screen right now, that is the art for the cover of the magazine in Japan. So I really love this. I think the colors are gorgeous. It's just a great looking picture. And then even the double page color spread in this chapter for the cover is crazy good. I love the feel of this. I love, like, it's kind of like the whole family is on the couch. I really like pictures like this, color spreads like this, where the whole family is involved like that. And so I love that. I thought it was beautiful. And as far as the chapter goes, so this week was super interesting in an informational kind of way. I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but it was very cool to see. So Kawashita, saying like he's going to die. We see him in prison. Taiyo has achieved what he wanted to achieve by getting there. And so Kawashita was interesting to see again. I liked his explanation of how the blooming of Tsubomi is specifically different in that it drives to kind of mania and death. But she actually couldn't die herself. That was kind of heartbreaking to see that. But what really was cool in this chapter this week was the dad showing up. And I should know his name, but I don't. He seems to have this power, this Tsubomi Yozakura power up. He made his whole body like cherry blossom petals and drifted into this room. It was insane to see. It was really cool to see. An amazing picture. But then, right, just as we think that he's got Taiyo, right? He's got Taiyo dead to rights. Taiyo tries to pull the yae on him and hit him. Just as we think he's got him, Taiyo turns around and the whole family is there with him. I love this because in the beginning of the chapter he said, hey, don't come down with me, I'll be fine on my own. But they were right there with him to back him up. It felt like this was a plan to draw out the dad. And obviously that plan was successful. So I'm super excited to see next week what happens with this. If they actually have a fight with their father and they go into that, I would love to see that. But it was super interesting of a chapter this week, and definitely deserving of the cover for sure. But now we get into a little bit of the weirdness that happened this week, and that was Mission Yozakura Family actually got a extra chapter in the magazine this week. They got a bonus chapter, which they titled 100 Beta. That's what that little symbol there means, by the way. It's a Greek letter beta. But this was kind of like a spin-off, like a one-shot almost kind of chapter where we focus on Ai and her training in the Yozakura family. What I liked about this is I love the little blurbs about everybody's current obsessions. I thought that was really funny how they go through the whole family and they see the current obsessions. I thought it was funny that Ai got addicted to gaming, with Shion. I thought that was funny. And then Kyoichiro's trial, as always, Kyoichiro's messed up. But his mental torture of Ai was crazy too. It was a fun little chapter. It was not obviously wholly separate from what's going on in the mainstream manga, but I thought it was interesting nonetheless, and because it's something different and special, I had to talk about it here. So don't have a whole lot to say about that special chapter, but it was cool to see. I will say this week it makes me think that there isn't enough good manga content for the magazine, because they've done this and then, one other thing that I thought was interesting that we'll get to later. But first of all, before we move off of the cover, we got to go with what else is going on. So there wasn't any new manga in the magazine this week. There wasn't anything ending in the magazine this week. But there were two manga on break, and this is, I think, why they were kind of struggling to fill the magazine this week. So Dr. Stone and Black Clover were both on break this week. I know Dr. Stone's break was planned. I think Black Clover's break was periodically Tabata will take off will have like an emergency week where he just takes off. So this is not totally unheard of. But they should, I believe, both be back in next week's magazine. So we'll be seeing them shortly, but they're on break this week. And that leads us to the color pages this week. We got 3 other color pages, and the first one was a manga that we actually haven't seen in the main magazine, and one I haven't read, called Dandadan? It's probably Dandadan. Anyway, chapter 26.1 is what they titled this. It was another one-shot chapter, a special chapter, and I think it was supposed to get us interested in the manga of Dandadan. The color page itself was nothing really special. It was just a picture of the main character, or one of the main characters at least, just standing there. It was okay, but didn't really blow me away or anything. But as I got into this chapter, I kind of found it a little bit interesting. It's an interesting choice to do a one-shot in the main magazine like this. I think what they were trying to do is rope in readers of these weekly series, and obviously the magazine readers in Japan, try to rope them in to get them to read Dandadan, Dandadan, or whatever. I can't say his name right. But it's an interesting choice. I do think that the powers were cool, at least her powers and his powers. I was very interested. The main girl's powers seemed like some kind of psychic hand thing. That looked cool. I like seeing her pick up those cans. That was interesting. What on earth was this villain? This baboon, I think alien guy who had the cans. First of all, the can battle was fun. It was hilarious. I love the premise of this giant can there, and if you people in the area turning into cans. I thought the battle itself was hilarious, and the villain was hilarious too. And a little menacing too, I gotta say. So it was funny. And then at the end, that nerdy kid, the other main character, right? He turns into this monster-looking guy, and I'm so interested. I was very interested to see what that is and learn about that. But all in all, I gotta say, this chapter did not really get me that interested in this manga. I probably won't go read it. If it continues to be in the main magazine, then obviously I'll catch up and I'll like all the other ones, I'll get on it. But it really didn't capture my attention super well. And I do know that normally this manga is an 18 and up manga. I think that it's a little fan service heavy. I'm not totally sure about that, but I think it is, which you guys probably know by now. I'm not that into the fan service stuff. Obviously they toned that back for the one shot, I think, but yeah, I'm not super interested in it. But if you guys do read this manga and I'm totally missing out, if this is amazing and I should get on it, please let me know in the comments section. I will get on it. But as for me right now, I probably won't touch it too heavily. But that brings us to the second color page, which was Undead Unluck. I'm glad that it had a color page, because I don't know that I would have talked about it otherwise, but I feel like I haven't talked about Undead Unluck on this channel for a while. But it does deserve it. Undead Unluck is great. First of all, the color page is amazing. I love the traditional gambling hall look that they got going on with Spring, Andy, and Fuko there. I think that's really cool. I loved seeing that. It's a very good color page. Definitely, I mean, you're seeing it on your screen if you're watching this video, but definitely, it was a great color page. So take it in, look at it. As far as the chapter, though, itself goes, I really liked this fight. I thought the fight between Billy and Andy was pretty good. I like the unbalanced power, I think, is really cool. I love the bending of the buildings, almost elastic-like. I think that was pretty cool. I like that we got to learn about Billy's powers, how he has 6 abilities at any one given time. I don't know how. I might just be forgetting. If I'm forgetting how he gets these powers, leave it down in the comment section. I'd love to, if you know, I'd love to know, and if I just missed it. But I don't think we've been explained to yet how he gets these powers. But at least we know he has 6 now, or supposedly has 6. So that, we learned a little bit about that. I do love Andy's final move thing, the sheath in his shoulder thing. That slice was really cool. I did really enjoy seeing that. So that was good. And then to find out that Billy has Unchange was so interesting. I mean, if you remember all the way back to Gina, who had Unchange in the beginning, I mean, this was a really powerful ability. It was a scary ability when Fuko and Andy went up against Gina, who had this ability. But it's interesting to recall Gina and to invoke that in a positive light, and I think that was good. And Andy is a genius, right? So Unmove is being applied to the front of his body, and Andy, being who he is, just like rips his body away from the front of it to then go and continue the fight. It's a genius way to use the power of Undead, and so, more power to him. All in all, it was a great fight chapter. It was good to see. I love the power system in this manga. It's a good power system, so it was cool to see. But that will bring us on to the next magazine, or the next magazine. That's all one magazine. The next color page in the magazine, which this week went to Magu-chan, God of Destruction. Again, I'm glad I could talk about this chapter, but I'll be honest with you guys, I don't have a whole lot to say about this chapter. The color page itself was pretty basic, just the picture of the gods of destruction there in kind of falling down in the air. So it was pretty basic. It was fine. It looked good. What really struck me about the color page is I'm not sure that we've ever seen Naputaku in color, and I did not know that he was green. All the other gods look like I expected them to look, right? I thought that the crab one was like red, like a crab. I thought the sea urchin one was black, like a sea urchin. But I didn't expect Naputaku to be green. I thought he was like tan, but no, he's green, and so that was interesting to see, This week I thought it was definitely interesting to see. As far as the chapter itself, though, I love that Ruru made the bento box to look like Magu-chan. I love the intentionality of Magu. I love how intentional he is in trying to get this back. I love that the story has gotten to this point. The tricking of Muskar, of Fate, right? One of the other gods of destruction. The tricking of him is hilarious. I love that he clears the clouds for Magu, and then Magu just runs off without doing anything in return. I thought that was funny, and of course the ending was great with them just together. At the end there, I thought that was great to see too. A good heartwarming chapter. Nothing at all wrong with it, but I got the color page, so we talk about it. And that will lead me to my highlights this week. I have two highlights to go over this week. There was a lot more in the magazine that I could have gone over. We'll get to that in my honorable mentions after the highlights, but I only have two highlights, and the first one is My Hero Academia. You guys, if you have kept up with me recently, then you may know that I was not a fan of Stain's return in My Hero Academia, and I stand by that statement, but I want to make a little bit of a correction. So I think Stain is more consistent in this chapter with what I remember him being in the earlier part of the manga. His when he answers that guard like I'm an ally of society as it should be. This makes sense. This is a Stain thing to do. I'm all in on that. It's really good. That's fine. It helps fix my Stain problem to think that, maybe he was just like swallowing his pride to give this info to All Might, because that's the only person that he could trust. Also, this battle is soon. We have 3 days till Shigaraki supposedly wakes up in full swing, in full form. And what's alarming about that is it feels like we just got out of a major fight, right? It feels like we just left a major altercation in the Paramount War. Or is it Paramount? No, it's the Liberation Army War. Whatever the last arc was called. We just left this massive fight. And now we're in 3 days' time. Who knows how many chapters that'll be. We're getting back into a fight. I feel like we haven't had like a rest arc yet. Unless you're counting these couple chapters as a rest arc. But what I also want to know, as kind of like a plot hole maybe, is why did it take so long for Stain to get this info to them? So it's been 3 months since the Tartarus breakout, right? I believe it's been 3 months. If I'm wrong, go down to the comments and tell me, Shonen Express, you're a moron. It hasn't been 3 months. Go ahead, tell me that. But I think it's been 3 months. What was Stain doing with his info? We could have had 3 months of prep time. Instead, we have 3 days of prep time now. It seems weird, and I would just, if there is an explanation, great. If not, I don't know about that. But what is by far the main thrust of this chapter is the world heroes coming together. We were hinted at this happening earlier on in this manga, that there were other heroes in the world. All Might was the top hero in Japan, but not in the whole world. And so now we see heroes from all over the world. We saw the Egyptian guy, and what was the other guy? I forget what he was, and obviously the main girl from America, the number one hero in America. We see her flying in, and obviously she's got All Might flair. I think she calls All Might her master, but obviously this is going to be interesting. I'm really excited to see foreign heroes come in and interact with the characters that we've established here in Japan. Obviously, it's interesting to me. I'm simply a little worried, and I'll tell you why. I worry a little bit about manga that have a tendency to do this thing where you scale this manga relatively well, right? So, like they have said, so at first we thought All Might was the best hero in the world, or at least I thought that, right? He was the number one hero in the world. And that might still have been true. He might have been the number one hero in the world, but he's only officially the number one hero in Japan. And so when we found out that information, it was like, oh, cool. This is like, you've expanded the world immensely, right? You've made it so that other countries have their own set of heroes that could be stronger or weaker than the set of heroes that we have. So you've massively expanded the world, right? I find this almost similar to, if you guys read Naruto, when we started seeing the other villages more, right? We began to see like, oh, there are strong characters, super strong characters all over the world. And this brings a sense of scale to what the world is. I think manga that does this amazingly is One Piece. One Piece at every turn keeps making its world bigger and bigger and bigger, and we keep coming up against foes that are stronger and stronger because it keeps getting bigger and bigger. But what happens sometimes in manga, and I'm worried is going to happen here, is you go to that next level, right? You go to the bigger world stage. We're on the world stage now, and instead of making All Might like a middle hero, right? They're going to make him the best hero in the world, right? And so these heroes are not going to be stronger than anything we've seen. They're going to be comparable to everybody we've seen. And so instead of this being a new height to conquer, it ends up being underwhelming because we're dealing with the best of the best. I'm a little worried that that's going to happen, but I've gone on this tirade for long enough now. So we'll move on to the next chapter I want to highlight, and that is Blue Box. Guys, if you have watched this channel for the past like 5 weeks, you know I'm a big Blue Box fan. It's one of my favorite manga in the series, or in the magazine probably right now. Definitely my favorite non-battle manga in the series. But Blue Box this week was just too good for me to ignore it. First of all, the art in this week's chapter was phenomenal, guys. It was, I mean, the details and like just everything about it was stunning to me. I loved this artwork. But as far as the content of the chapter, Taiki's really good at badminton. He's really improved a lot. His doubles match with Haru against that Hyodo guy, even though they ended up losing, I love the dramatic nature of that. Of course, Chinatsu writing the note in his notebook was really awesome too. I loved seeing that. But Taiki's ability to bounce back and to go into the singles match totally ready and prepared was great. I love that. And then it was over instantly. This Yusa guy, am I saying his name? Yeah, Yusa. He takes Taiki out immediately. I mean, Taiki is out of the tournament, and this is the same guy that said badminton isn't for like nice guys or whatever. But he takes him out of the tournament in this match that Taiki wasn't even expecting to lose, which is disappointing, I gotta say. I'm really interested to see where this manga is gonna go. I'm a little scared that it may end here pretty soon, but I don't think it will, but I think there's a possibility that it will. But this was a really great chapter, ups and downs emotionally, and amazing art. I had to highlight it, guys. Which brings me to my mentions, and I have a lot. Guys, read One Piece, 6P, or PP, whatever we want to call that manga. I still haven't really decided. Mashle, Magic and Muscles was great. The Elusive Samurai was really good. Sakamoto Days was really good. And Niru Way of the Martial Artist, another really good chapter this week. And guys, most of the things in the manga, almost all of the things in the magazine this week were really good. So just read the magazine of Weekly Shonen Jump. This week was a great week to read if you're not already on that train. But guys, that's all I got for you this week. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you have anything to say, leave it in the comment section. I'd love to interact with your comments and see where you guys are at in all of this. And like this video and subscribe to the channel if you liked anything I had to say. I bring you these weekly newsletters every single week, and we are doing the Pillow Fort podcast. Me and Kate are on pretty much most podcasting platforms, as well as here on YouTube. I will put the podcast up here as well. We're here back, and we're reviewing One Piece. We just put out the first episode, which is on the Romance Dawn arc, chapters 1 through 7, and this coming week, we're going to be doing the Orange Town arc, which is chapters 8 through 21, so definitely check out the Pillow Fort podcast too. But guys, thanks so much for watching, and this is Shonen Express, signing off.